Okay, so having gone through all that material, let's summarize what the core concepts are. So we have a process or a principle that allows us to connect an external stellar body to some kind of fundamental energy inside of our minds. How does that happen anyway? The mechanism is a combination of two principles. So one is sympathetic resonance, the other is induction. Things or processes that occur within us often have a connection to something of a similar nature that's external to us. There's lots of different reasons. I could go probably on for hours as to why that's the case. But this is what happens. And so when we take a look at an association between the dark inner landscape of our psyche and Sedna, there is very much a sympathetic resonance there. And there is certainly a kind of energetic inductance that happens. And by examining how Sedna and the Black Moon Lilith move and are stationed both in fixed positions within your natal chart, and this is frozen as an image upon birth, and it's also active on a regular day-to-day basis in the real world, external to us. So we have a relationship, and there are really two Sednas. There's the Sedna that's frozen inside of you, and there's the actual asteroid that's in outer space. And those two bodies will interact with each other. And in fact, the real Sedna that's out in space, I shouldn't say real, but I mean the external Sedna, will be constantly forming relations and actions, to you and to anyone that's been born, that's a human being, that has a point inside of themselves referential to where Sedna was when they were born. The same thing with the Black Moon Lilith. And so, to summarize what's happening here, we're using a number of components. So we use the natal position of Sedna and Black Moon Lilith in your chart. We use the current position, which we refer to as the transit chart, describing the actual position of Sedna and Black Moon Lilith in the sky. And that position we break down into different parts too. So we take a look at what degree is it on. We've looked at the importance and the significance and the meaning of a degree. We also take a look at the sign. The sign is the costume that Sedna wears, the costume that it wears inside of you, and the current costume that the external one is wearing in the sky. And then we also take a look at the house. And the house is that domain in life when you were born where it took up residence. And when you go through that document that I provided, you will find a lengthy description of what the houses are. So you'll always know, if your Sedna is any given house, you'll always know what part of life it's most likely to be active in. Now understand that the external Sedna, when it's transiting, can certainly have an influence on other areas of your life. It's just that what we would say is that probabilistically, your natal Sedna, the one that's frozen in place inside of you, will tend to affect you individually from that domain that it was associated with, or that house that it was associated with. Now, the other thing that we took a look at were aspects. So we took a look at, and when I say aspects, I mean angles. So angular relationships. Angular relationships allow us to modulate that sympathetic resonance and affect